We're going to hop right into our program. I'm going to introduce our day chair, Chris Morris. Chris Morris is a trial lawyer at Bassford Remley in Minneapolis, where he has worked since 1993 after he completed a clerkship with the Minnesota Court of Appeals. Chris and his wife, Sarah, have two children who are both undergrads at the University of Minnesota. His son is at the College of Liberal Arts and his daughter is at the Ag campus. Outside of work, he spends time with at his family's farm in South Dassel, and Chris has added, better known as the hometown of the president of the best Rotary Club in the universe. So there you go. It's a really small world, I have to say. Chris's maternal grandparents were our neighbors on the next farm, and his paternal grandparents were just down the road from there. So what a small world it is. He likes to, at the farm, tap maple trees in the spring, fishing in Dassel area lakes in the summer, and splitting wood year round. Chris, thank you for being our day chair today.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's my honor to introduce our speaker today from Dunwoody. You've heard the club has been a longtime supporter, of course, of Dunwoody. You've heard the vocational committee talk a lot about YCAP in years past. And now we don't have YCAP anymore. We have something a little different, and our speaker is going to be explaining it. But she's got plenty of education in her background. She attended St. Catherine for college, received her BA there, received a Master of Arts from Augsburg, then went on to St. Mary's University for studies in Doctor of Education. And I'll let her explain some of her relevant background, but she's had a variety of unique experiences for a while at De La Salle High School, I think as a dean of students there. And all of that brings her now to Dunwoody. And she is Dunwoody's first ever executive director of community partnerships. She's a longtime leader in the Twin Cities diversity and inclusion community and is a champion for under-resourced students. In her new role, her responsibilities at Dunwoody include building key community relationships and effective partnerships and direct activities that strengthen and grow Dunwoody's mission to improve lives through technical education. She's going to share a lot more this morning about the new Pathways to Careers program, P2C. And let's give a warm welcome to our speaker today, Bayza Weeks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. And thank you, Peg, for the shout out that this will be a good presentation. I hope so. I'm going to share my screen and just jump right in. Okay, so once again, good morning, everyone. My name is Bayza Weeks, and I am the Executive Director of Community Partnerships. I actually now lead two significant scholarship programs at the college, the Pathways to Career Scholarship and the Women in Technical Career Scholarship. Initially, I was only going to focus on P2C, but I revised my slides a little bit to include information about both programs, but I promise I won't take more time. So just a quick agenda of what I'll cover today. In alignment with the wonderful introduction I just received, I am going to cover a little bit about my professional background, only because people always ask me, how did I get into this work? Why do I do this work? Why is it important? So I'll talk a little bit about myself. And then for those of you who aren't familiar with Dunwoody, which I'd be surprised because you have the wonderful Colleen Norton there, so I know she shared information, but I'll just cover some quick information about our degree programs. And then I'm going to talk about the nature and purpose of both of these scholarship programs, which is to dismantle disparity gaps. Then I'll cover the program design and features for both programs and a little bit about what it looks like to envision the future. So just a little bit about me. As you just heard, I am alumna of St. Kate's in St. Paul and Augsburg, and I'm currently completing my dissertation in educational leadership at St. Mary's University of Minnesota. Previous experience, largely K-12 college administration. I've done work with St. Paul and Minneapolis public schools in terms of counseling and administrative support. Also Dean of Students at De La Salle. And prior to coming over to Dunwoody last May, I worked at the new Dotery Family College at the University of St. Thomas, where I led their transfer division and managed their full tuition scholarship program. I've been a program manager, director, consultant for several nonprofits in the Twin Cities. Education is near and dear to my heart. I've been doing this work since, after school programs as a teenager. So I value this work significantly. I have been blessed to have immersive experiences in DEI as an ambassador, several committee and chair positions, and focusing on DEI research, initiatives, and organizational efforts and change in this area. Personally, I am a native of North Minneapolis. Born and raised there, and mother of 2 sons. And I laugh about this because this is not a typo. One is 25, that's my oldest son that I had when I was 16 years old. So a long time ago, but once again, when we're talking about disparities, I do understand what a lot of our students are experiencing. So ages 25, and then my 6-year-old is behind me, kind of resting on the couch, waiting for this presentation, so then I'll take him to school. So if you see him scurry around behind me, you'll know why. And then I've also, raised 4 of my siblings. Once again, I mentioned this because of the connection to disparity gaps and what students of color are facing when they have to support their families, as well as focus on themselves and their education. So I raised 4 of my siblings. One is actually a Dunwoody and YCAP alum. So here are just some quick facts about Dunwoody that you may or may not be aware of. So we have been in existence for over 107 years and provide over more than 45 majors across in-demand technical industries. We offer certificate, Associate of Applied Science degrees, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Architecture, and Bachelor of Science completion programs. Our average class size is 11 students. And we have a 95% job placement in the field of study and 13.8 job inquiries per graduate with an average salary. And this is absolutely amazing to me because even with my background in education, I didn't make this much until well into my career. They're starting at $53,007. That's the average. So these are outstanding numbers. And we had a panel of students recently at the college where they talked about having to literally fight off job offers as soon as they told employers that they were enrolled at Dunwoody. So we are nearly guaranteeing jobs and opportunities for our students. And just a little bit about the 45+ degree and certificate programs we offer, and from several programs in automotive, business, computer technology, construction sciences and building technology, design and graphics technology, health and sciences technology, only one program there, our radiologic technology, robotics and manufacturing, and School of Engineering. And I encourage all of you to visit dunwoody.edu for more information about this, or you're welcome to visit the campus or connect with our admissions staff as well. So I'm going to just jump right in to talk a little bit about economic disparities so that you can understand a little more about the significance of the Pathways to Careers program and the Women in Technical Careers program. So really looking at these 4 bullet points, when we're talking about comparing the economic status of people of color versus their white counterparts, we're facing significant atrocities here. And Minnesota has one of the largest disparity gaps in this area in the nation. So we're seeing lower educational attainment, lower high school completion rates, and we're seeing lower job placement and skills for the workforce. So these are the reasons that we want to focus on eliminating these disparity gaps, or as I would say, dismantling these disparity gaps. We want to tear them apart and create a whole new structure. So you can see even the last bullet, we're looking at between 8 and 19% just in terms of the gap of those not graduating from high school. So I used to, as a previous program director, I would have all the students stand up in the room and I would say, you know what, okay, I need all of you to sit down except for 2 of you. And that was what the disparity would look like. So there'd be a room of 10 or 15 students and I wanted them to understand the importance of their focus and persistence and perseverance to get through high school. There's a significant gap here. Similar to that, we have the gender wage gap. And you can see here the differences in terms of what white males make in terms of dollars, and then what corresponds for the different nationalities below. So you can see for Black, we're looking at for women, 61 cents on the dollar. And we're looking at Native Americans, 61 cents on the dollar for women. Latino, the same thing. So once again, when we're looking at the skills gap, the income gap, and the educational gap, these are the things that are the results of those disparities persisting in our community. So as I mentioned, the P2C program, or the Pathways to Careers program, is designed to dismantle disparity gaps in 3 main areas. So we want to increase high school graduation and college graduation rates. We want to eliminate the income gap and the skills gap. And just a little bit about the P2C program. As mentioned, the former YCAP program, the Youth Career Awareness Program, was in existence for over 40 years at the college. And I came on in this role last May to reimagine it, to make it even better for the next generation of students, so that we're serving students in the highest capacity possible and serving our communities in the highest capacity possible. So the Pathways to Careers program has 2 distinct chapters, which I'm going to talk about. One is for high school youth, and that's for juniors and seniors currently in high school. And the other is chapter 2 for post-traditional adults. And I'll dig a little more into that in the next slide. We have an enhanced engagement model. And this is simply because it's not enough to see students one time or to connect with them or engage with them infrequently throughout the academic year. So we want to ensure that we are supporting students, the whole student, along with their academic success. Community partnerships is vital to what we do. So there's many major components to my role, but one significant component is building community partnerships, where we want to elevate the program and elevate access for students to have quality education and technical careers. So for example, we have a partnership with the Urban League Twin Cities. They have a workforce development program. And what we've done is we've created a memorandum of understanding where they will continue to work with their participants, but refer those who are interested in technical education to our Chapter 2 program within P2C. Now, when those students enroll with us, they're part of P2C and they're also part of the Urban League Twin Cities. So then those adults will receive dual services. So once again, if we're trying to dismantle disparity gaps, then we want to avoid students falling through the cracks. So that's part of the concern and reason for the community partnerships, is to ally and build together support systems and networks for students to be successful. And for both programs, P2C and WITC, there's an intentional focus on underserved and underrepresented student populations. And for definitions for the purposes of this talk, underserved is high financial need, and underrepresented are students or adults of color. So as I mentioned, the Chapter 1 aspect of P2C largely mirrors the former YCAP model. And that was a model where students came on campus for 3 weeks and they had an immersive experience in technical activities, tours of industry leading sites, and opportunities to engage as a group. So we are keeping that aspect of the YCAP model as part of the new P2C model. Eligibility falls along the lines of free and reduced lunch, or as I mentioned, underserved being of low income. The enhanced engagement component involves students meeting with us for monthly engagement sessions, which will be a hybrid model of in-person and virtual, once a month for 2 hours. And this is important because we're going to cover different topics on leadership development, financial coaching and wellness. We're going to look at goal setting. We're going to look at how to, properly acclimate to college and what it looks like to build that network and reach out to professors and advocate for yourself. And we're also going to look at just different fun activities for them to tap into building that network and engaging with each other. So those are the monthly engagement sessions that occur from September to roughly April of every year. We also still, as I mentioned, have the 3-week summer experience, and this is only for Chapter 1 students, so for those juniors and seniors. So for example, this summer we are slated and we will have 60 juniors and seniors participating with us this summer. And we have a robust schedule. So we are going to be focusing on engaging with our faculty and staff on campus in several different hands-on activities. We're going to tour some leading industry sites. We're going to have some other fun off-campus and on-campus activities. But our hope is really by the end of that 3-week session that they will have a really good idea of not only is Dunwoody a good fit for me, but what program they'd like to focus on. And then those high school juniors and seniors will continue in those monthly engagement sessions with us. Every student completes a college planning and persistence support document. And this is important because we want to teach students how to identify their goals, how to identify obstacles, and then how to build their network of support so that when they need help, because they will, it's not if, it's when they need help, they know how to do that. So every student, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, will complete that document, and that's what we'll review with students when we meet with them on a monthly or semester-based opportunity for mentorship. So myself and my awesome program director for P2C, Mrs. Keetzer, meet with students to help to support them throughout the process. They also engage with several staff and faculty on campus. They have faculty advisors, and we also have a wonderful first-year experience coordinator who has been with the college for nearly 20 years and knows the college and the programs inside out and knows how to best support students. So students are receiving numerous checkpoints and touch points in terms of support and being able to persist through college. And of course, there are stipends for their participation. Because once again, if we're talking about eliminating the disparity gap, we have to address the unique needs for underrepresented populations. So there are stipends for the 3-week summer opportunity, and that is a full-time 6 hours a day roughly, and they're paid at $15 an hour. They're also covered in stipends for their monthly engagement sessions, and that's also at $15 an hour. So students have an opportunity to earn some money, which can be very useful for them so that they can focus on their studies. And of course, the key ticket here is that students are going to receive up to $10,000 in terms of Dunwoody scholarships. It's renewable for up to 2 years to complete any program at Dunwoody in the P2C program. So Chapter 2 is a little bit different, but same intention. And this came about when I was in the program creation mode. So when I came in May, I was tasked with the large task of creating the Pathways to Careers program. So I spent 3 or 4 months doing so. And I realized that, especially with the pandemic, we have an overlooked population that we need to be prepared to serve. And that's the post-traditional adult. So I'm talking about adults who already have a high school diploma or a GED, and they very well may be working in a field that they don't like or that doesn't work for them, and they find that technical education would be a better fit. So these adults, hopefully in alignment with our community partners, can enroll in the P2C program and also receive all of the supports from the Chapter 1 piece, but they're not required to complete a summer experience session. But this is an opportunity for those adults who, maybe they took a gap year, maybe they finished high school a couple years ago and they weren't ready to jump into an online program because the pandemic really shifted the way that we provide education to students and adults. So now they realize, you know what, maybe I can get back into this, and I needed a scholarship, and I also need support to be able to be successful. So here's an opportunity for those post-traditional adults of any age. to participate in the P2C program and receive that financial support to attend Dunwoody. We are working on building out a technical career fields mentorship program for the Chapter 2 piece so that students can start to engage and build that network with adults in the fields who look like them. This is significantly important. And we talk about this, you hear about this in schools, that we need Black and brown students to be able to see adults that look like them in order to realize and actualize their future success. Well, the same thing has been in place for adults. We need to be able to connect with mentors and people who have paved the way before us so that they can help us to realize different ways that we can be better and to push us. So the technical careers piece is very important. And Mrs. Keetzer is doing a wonderful job working on building out that program. Stipends are also in place for this program for Chapter 2. So the post-traditional adults who attend those monthly engagement sessions are also paid for their time. And of course, they receive the same scholarship as Chapter 1, and that's $10,000, up to $10,000 for 2 years to complete their degree at Dunwoody. So very similar to the Pathways to Careers program, but this is an established program that has been in existence for over 5 years at the college. This is our Women in Technical Careers program. And this is led by another fabulous program director, Mrs. Maggie Whitman, and she's not with us today, but she is a dynamic leader in this program and has spearheaded the efforts, and it's wonderful to work with her. So once again, similar to P2C, students in the Women in Technical Careers program receive up to $10,000 a year, which is renewable for 2 years. They also receive stipends for childcare and textbooks. There's a career-focused mentoring program. So instead of monthly engagement sessions, they conduct professional development sessions each month. There's targeted advising and academic support. She works tirelessly with these women to help to ensure that they have what they need and that they feel supported in their programs. A very strong peer support network. And as I mentioned, the monthly professional development sessions. So why is WITC in existence? Simply because of the disparity gaps for women where there are serious barriers to entry in the workforce for technical workforce options. And we're dealing with expectations from family and friends that technical options, construction, electrical, engineering are not for women. Misconceptions of technical careers. There are thoughts out there that technical work is only for men, and that's completely false. There's people that are just not familiar with technical occupations. There's a lack of role models simply because women are underrepresented in these fields. Caregiving responsibilities can be a barrier. Simply paying for childcare and trying to figure out how to go to work and go to school is a serious challenge for us. Financial barriers, of course, and academic preparedness. So our hope through WITC is to address all of these barriers and to create access. A little bit different than P2C, WITC is focused on bringing women into non-traditional careers. So you can see some of the disparities here when we look at how many women are in these fields versus men. And just look at the top 3: construction and extraction, installation and maintenance, military. And we can keep going down. But as you see, as we get to more of the people serving careers, you can see that it increases where women are predominant there. And we want to shift the scale to make sure that it's more equitable. So as I mentioned, the Women in Technical Careers is focused on bringing women into technical careers and opportunities only for those fields where women are historically underrepresented. So Women in Technical Careers Scholarship does not provide scholarship for every program at Dunwoody, but it does for these categories here. So any program in automotive, any program in architecture, computer technology, construction sciences and building technology, robotics and manufacturing, and our School of Engineering. So just wrapping up here, I always think it's important to talk about the underlying vision of programs like this. So I hope that you all see that P2C and WITC can be a bridge for current and future industry needs. We want to disrupt, as I mentioned, major disparity gaps. We see Dunwoody Education as a solution, as a premier institution providing technical education, as I mentioned, for over 107 years. You know, students can come to us, receive quality education and support, and be in their field after their 2-year program. Most of the time, even in internships before that time. So we are a solution to the growing demands and needs for technical career fields in Minnesota. We want to restore hope for underserved and underrepresented student populations, especially given the nature of this pandemic. We have people that are it's just hopeless. You know, they've lost family members, they've been sick, they've lost jobs. They don't necessarily see, you know, the sun on the horizon. They need to have that hope restored, that they are valuable, that they're contributing members to society, and that there is a plan for their future. And of course, we want to change the landscape for technical education and employment. One question I've been asked is, you know, how will you help students to see the value of a 2-year education versus a 4-year education? Well, it's challenging because I know when I was younger in college, there was this, you know, perception that a 2-year education or going into a hands-on field was less than a 4-year degree or a liberal arts degree. Well, I want to change that narrative. And even though I'm a liberal arts student and I've been in college for, you know, over a decade, it still is significant that we have opportunities that meet the unique needs of every student. That's what I have for you today. As I mentioned, just a really brief overview of these programs and understanding the significance and value of these programs. And here is my information. I'm happy to connect with anyone, or as I mentioned, you have the fabulous Colleen there already who can help and provide some support. But I do want to thank the Rotary Club for your time today. Thank you for your previous support for YCAP and moving forward through P2C. And I look forward to engaging with all of you. Thank you so much.
Bayza, we hope you can take a few questions. Are there questions?
Of course.
Doug's got a question. Hi, my name is Doug Schmidt. John Vandermeid and I had the opportunity to go over to Minneapolis Edison High School last week. And we had dinner with their band, and then John got to direct the band in a concert, which was really a fun side story. We'll do a happy buck on that someday. But we got to sit next to a young man, a clarinet player, who doesn't like school, and he wants to get into a technical education, and he wants to be a plumber. And I said, hey, how about Dunwoody? You know, because we've been connected with Dunwoody a long time. He goes, oh, that's really expensive. And I don't know how expensive it is. So I guess question one is, what's your tuition like? And I don't know if there's some way, you know, to get one of those $10,000 scholarships for this guy, but he just seems perfect. You know, it's like, all right, you're an inner city kid, wants to get into technical education. Dunwoody's right down the street. You graduate at a high level, you get good high paying jobs right out of the gate. It's like, man, that's ideal for this guy. So there you go.
Great question. Thank you so much. You know, it is challenging to help students to see their options. And the one thing I would say is we got to get them on campus, and we got to get them to connect with our program director or myself. You know, for students that wonder what our tuition is, the average cost is about $25,000 for 1 year. That's average, okay? So depending on the program and fees, that could be a little more or a little less. And, you know, what I would say for a student that is, you know, not really sure what they want to do, I would say that, you know, research your options, talk to people, ask questions, go to open houses, info sessions, really start to tap in and look at what your options are. I tell students, you don't know what you don't know. So for students that say, well, I'd like to go into carpentry, or I'd like to go into HVAC, or I'd like to do something along those lines, but I don't know how to do it, we'll start asking questions. And one thing that our program director has done a fabulous job of is going to these high schools, including Edison and North and Henry and many of the Minneapolis locations, and helping counselors to understand the programs we offer and helping them to understand ways to get their students connected with us. So I would just tell that student to apply. I mean, our application deadline, unfortunately, for this summer is wrapping up this Friday, but there still could be other scholarship opportunities for that student as well. But I would just tell them to reach out to us. You know, we are the college that I always hear people say, well, I know where you are. I drive past you all the time, you know, because 94 Bridge right there. But just stop in and see us.
Any more questions, Gail?
Hello, Bayza. Thank you so much for the information this morning. I'm Gail Noakes, and as you know, our club has sponsored YCAP and supported it for a long time, doing mock job interviews and scholarships, and bought you a van quite a while ago. And just wondering, with the new P2C program, what can you tell us about the best way to support you going forward?
Great, thank you for the question. You know, I think, of course, you know, the financial support is always appreciated, definitely. We are forecasting over 250 students to be a part of this program within the next 5 years. So that's always always appreciated and well received. I would also say that word of mouth is really important. So for example, you have Peg Thomas there, who has done a great job and supported us through Sundance in terms of exposure, helping other organizations to learn more about our programs and what we provide, even listing our scholarship programs and newsletters. I have found that this role and this program is really all about networking. People just don't know. First of all, they don't know about Dunwoody and what we provide. And then secondly, they don't know about scholarship options or opportunities for students to receive additional support while they complete their degree. So I would say both would be, you know, ideal, is continued, you know, financial support in whatever capacity the Rotary Club feels is reasonable. And then also, of course, just word of mouth and helping to connect us to various partners and nonprofit organizations and schools and entities that have a subset of adults or youth who would be a good fit for the program and are eligible for the program. Thank you.
Bayza, Rob Scarlett, I really appreciate your presentation. I do think you hit it out of the park, in my opinion.
Thank you.
What's your question? When you look at the high schools that are feeding people to you, what about the cultural aspect? Are high schools recognizing students who achieve outside of the four-year pathway? And is that something you see a need to change, or do you see trends already where people who are in high school are actually honored for taking the pathway that you're suggesting is available to them, going to technical and trades?
That's a great question. I think we're seeing a shift. I have to say, from my own experience working as an administrator in schools and working with a lot of high school students, the recommended pathway is still that four-year degree. And, I think it's really good for some students to have that option, but it's just not a good fit for every student. And I really have been wanting to change that narrative for a long time. Even back when I was the dean at De La Salle for, almost a decade, it was challenging for me to see students apply for four-year opportunities, but not feel equipped for them, or not be able to get a job once they graduate, or they're doing it simply because that's what their parents told them to do, or they feel like that's the only option. Or we also have, the perception that, if you're a student athlete, you have to go to a four-year institution. You must, have that college experience. And I really think that the tide is shifting. Number one, because we're seeing, increasing student loan rates, and students don't want to be in debt like that anymore. I often, want to show students my student loan debt because, I've been in school for over a decade. So yes, I've had significant debt. And then I also think that students are seeing the value and want to get into an immediate career. And they know that a four-year program will lead them to a career, but not as quickly as a two-year option. I also think that we're seeing a shift in terms of students wanting to do things with a more hands-on element. Liberal arts is fantastic. I'll never dismiss a liberal arts degree. But there is inherent value in return on investment when you focus on a hands-on technical program, because you have long-term career trajectory there. And the one thing that I didn't mention about the Dunwoody programs is, we have completion plans. So at any point in time, if a student comes to us and completes a certificate or, a two-year degree, they can come back and focus and work on completing a bachelor's degree. So we will accept them back at any time to focus on increasing their scholarly profile. So long and short is, yes, it's a serious challenge to try to shift this narrative for students to understand that, for students and educators to agree and understand that a 2-year pathway is just as successful as a liberal arts or 4-year pathway, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jim Eaton and happen to be privileged to work with a lot of nonprofits, that some of which overlap the kind of work that you do. Obviously, the timing for what you're doing has never been more important, because there's such a desperate need for people to fill jobs, many of which probably could be filled with your students. And there is hope that the federal government might help with a 2-year, particularly aiming in support of 2-year colleges like yours. So I hope that happens as well. So my question really is around collaboration. As I said, I'm very familiar with organizations like Cristo Rey, the high school in South Minneapolis, and Urban Ventures, other nonprofits that are dabbling maybe in some of the same populations that you are. Are you reaching out and really looking for collaboration opportunities with other nonprofits that are working in this space?
Great question. Absolutely. And you just mentioned actually one of our partners. We are connected with the new Lake Street Works project. I'm certain you know who Art Erickson is, and I know Art as well. And we have an MOU to support their new apprenticeship program there, the Studio 180 Lake Street Works program. Also working with many other organizations. So looking at Pillsbury United Communities, Genesis Works, Achieve Minneapolis, the YMCA. We are focused on really creating pathways for students through organizations that already do this. One thing that I've mentioned that is near and dear to my heart is to build collaborations amongst nonprofit organizations, especially those that have been led in a way, in a competitive manner. You know, we want to work together and align our efforts instead of working in silos and trying to just increase our own enrollments. Why not work together? If they have a population of students who would benefit from additional supports, a scholarship, a Dunwoody education, a long-term career, let's work together where they can still support their students and we can support them as well. So absolutely, I'm actively seeking partnerships, actively talking with people and presenting about this information, working on MOUs, streamlining scholarship options. Some organizations want to contribute to the students' education, those that they refer to us. So absolutely. And if you have additional partnership options, I'm open to any and all. Thank you.
Karen Scott online asks, are there any programs that have high market demand and lower enrollments that might be especially opportune to build awareness for prospective students?
Great question. I would think all of them right now, we're all in a series, all of the programs are in serious need, but the land surveying is one that is absolutely desperate for employment. So I don't know if all of you know what that is, but you see these people out here with these, looks like fake cameras, taking kind of pictures of the landscape and assessing and measuring things. That is surveying. And it's a newer program at Dunwoody, but it's one that has very low enrollment and one we want to increase enrollment and awareness. And the wages are phenomenal. So that would be one program that I know Mrs. Keetzer could speak a little more to as well, but we want to provide exposure for students to understand what that is, because most of them have seen these staff members out here doing this work, but they don't know what it's like and what the compensation is and what the long-term job satisfaction is. So that would be the number one that I would say right now. I don't know, Augustine, if you have anything else you'd want to add to that.
No, that's the one I would mention. I had just attended one of their summits on campus, and that's one of the programs that we're looking for, to have a larger representation in that population. And we were looking at the numbers that of Dunwoody grads in the past. It was very atrocious. There was only 2 students of color who actually have graduated in the program since 1999. So that is a population that we see where we can close the gap and be able to expose more students to that. But our students for the P2C cohort this summer will have an opportunity to get exposed to that program. And they also will be bringing in some professionals to speak with the students during that session. So we're excited to see that.
But I will add to that while we're seeing a strong disparity there, we're seeing a disparity across all technical fields. So if you look at construction, you look at electricians, you look at engineering, you look at HVAC, look at the number of the people of color that are in these roles. And it's very, very low. And even in terms of people of color, look at just overall the representation. We are in a shortage right now for quality, educated, prepared adults to be in these fields. So as I mentioned, Dunwoody is a solution to this economic challenge. Thank you.
One more question from Gail.
Sure.
Me again. I work in the manufacturing industry, and so my question is, how's it going getting relationships and partnerships with the industries that these students are going into, like manufacturing and construction? Because I find that they're pretty independent kind of folks that don't have a lot of groups to go to, and I'm wondering how that partnership is going.
Sure. We're making strides. As I share with many people, we're doing this. It's a brick by brick effort. We're building walls. We're, creating new structures, but it is one brick at a time. But it's true. We have received tremendous inquiries and supports from all manufacturing and construction fields. We have several people that serve on our board of trustees who have made connections to us through Ryan, through McGough. And in terms of electrical, we have so many people reaching out to us from smaller electrical firms to bigger. We're working with Excel Energy. We're working with Centerpoint. There are so many opportunities for students. And what I love is the engineers and managers in these fields and the construction crew leaders, they are realizing that there's a shortage. And number one, there's a shortage of people of color in these fields. So the demand is extremely high. So they reach out to me and we talk about potential partnerships, and we connect them also to our career services at Dunwoody. But yes, the short answer to your question is yes, we're able to start building some solid partnerships and hopefully some real pipelines for some internship opportunities as well for our students to be successful in those fields.
Bayza, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bayza, in lieu of a speaker's gift, we will ask you to sign a book that will be given to a third grader in the Way to Grow program so that they can have a book of their own that's signed by a leader in our community. And I'll send this with Colleen and perhaps she can have you sign that when she next sees you and bring it back to our meeting sometime in the future. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you today. What a great presentation. You aren't going to want to miss next week, folks. Next week, we have Lori Most from the Binary Bridge, which is Bridging Health Disparities in Emerging Economies. I want to thank Colleen for that great reflection today. Thank you to our day chair, Chris Morris. Rooters, as always, thank you for that great song today. Jim Nelson, thank you for being our greeter this morning. Brock and Ross. I guess you greeted people eventually. Brock and yes, Brock, Ross, and Greg, thank you for your technical support today in AV. Everybody have a great Rotary week.